Welcome back, everyone. This episode is special to me. It's not just a teaching. I'd like to consider this episode a transmission or a living current of wisdom, soul, and remembrance. A transmission is not just something that you hear or learn. Rather, it's something that you receive and feel and deeply integrate. It often changes you without you being able to even explain how or why. Because today we're diving into one of the most powerful, tender, and often misunderstood intersections on both the psychological and spiritual path. And that is trauma and the Kabbalistic journey of healing it. So if you've ever felt like you're repeating the same emotional loops, if you've struggled with anxiety, fear, self-doubt, or physical symptoms that seem to have no origin, and if you've done the work and still feel like something is stuck just beneath the surface, then this episode is for you. We're going to be exploring what trauma really is, right, from both a nervous system and soul perspective. We're going to discuss what happens when trauma goes unprocessed and how it shapes your patterns, your beliefs, and even your body. We're going to talk about the ancient Kabbalistic concept of klipot, which are spiritual husks or shells that block the light of your soul and keep you stuck in a trauma loop. We'll talk about how these klipot form as a response to pain and how they can be lovingly dissolved through healing and awareness. We'll talk about why your trauma is not your fault, but your healing is your sacred responsibility. And we'll talk about how your tikkun, your soul correction, holds the key to not only your personal liberation, but to the liberation of your entire lineage that came before you and those that will come after. Because let's face it, trauma healing is never really just about you. It's about the 7 generations behind you who couldn't process what they carried. It's about the 7 generations ahead of you who will live in the light of the healing that you choose to do now. So this isn't just information. It's an invitation. A sacred remembering, a call to come home to the parts of you that were never broken, but really just buried beneath layers of protection and pain. And I want you to know you don't have to walk this path alone. Whether you're at the very beginning of your healing journey or deep in the spiral, what you'll hear in today's episode is meant to support you, nourish you, and expand your understanding of what's truly possible when healing becomes a spiritual act. So take a deep breath, settle in, and open your hearts. And as you listen to this episode, you may begin to feel clarity or even a subtle sense that something inside you is already shifting or softening. And that's beautiful. But I also want to be very clear. This episode is not a replacement for therapy, nor is it an invitation to bypass or avoid professional support. I'm a huge advocate for therapy and for getting the help you need. So this episode is not a therapy session, but rather a deep invitation to gain insight, to connect with your inner wisdom, and perhaps begin to feel real momentum in the direction of healing. So let's jump in. Becoming a co-creator with the Creator is your birthright. Together, we'll journey into your deepest authenticity. Because the more you align with who you truly are, the more effortlessly you call in the life that you desire and deserve. And most importantly, the more you step into your soul's highest purpose. Welcome to the Manifestation Method podcast, your #1 source for Kabbalistic manifestation. Here we combine the ancient wisdom of Kabbalah, modern psychology, and quantum physics to help you achieve real, tangible manifestation results with my proven Abra method. I'm Ayelet Polonsky, and I'm here to guide you on your journey of manifesting a life that is aligned, expansive, and deeply connected to your highest self. through the sacred energetic mechanics of Kabbalistic manifestation. To learn how to use Kabbalistic manifestation to transform your life from the inside out, go to ayeletpolonsky.com or download the Manifestation Method app. Let's open the gates of manifestation together. So let's begin with a phrase many of you may already be familiar with. Some of you might be new to this phrase, and that is that the body keeps the score. This phrase comes from the groundbreaking work of trauma researcher Dr. Bessel van der Kolk, who revealed how trauma isn't just something that happens to us, but rather something that gets stored inside us, in our cells, in our fascia, in our breath, in our posture, our heart rate, even in the way that we speak or disconnect. And so when something overwhelming happens, especially if we don't have the support, the safety, or the tools to process it, that experience never really just goes away. It actually gets encoded in the body. And the body doesn't forget. Even if the mind might forget what happened, the body doesn't forget. And in Kabbalah, we go even deeper. We say that the soul keeps the score. The neshama, your divine soul, actually remembers and records everything. Not just what happened in this lifetime, but the echoes of previous lifetimes. It's the stories your ancestors couldn't finish telling. It's the pain that was too great to face, so it got buried or fragmented or forgotten by the conscious mind, but never truly gone. This pain never just evaporates. It starts to show up in other ways that we're not always aware of, but are very present in how we show up and behave and react to the world, right? Because even your soul carries your tikkun. Your tikkun is your unique spiritual curriculum for this lifetime. And your soul carries every experience, every karmic imprint, every place in need of healing and correction and integration. So what happens to all that unprocessed material? I've got to interrupt this episode for just a moment to share something that has been an absolute game changer in my life, my home, and honestly, my nervous system. It's called the biomat, and I am absolutely obsessed. I get asked all the time by listeners, Ayelet, what are your top hacks for staying in a high vibe, high frequency state, especially with everything you hold and all the energy you move? And this one is one of my best kept, not so secret secrets. The biomat has completely shifted the energy in our household. It's not just mine. My husband uses it. My kids live on it, especially when they're dysregulated or overstimulated. And it's become a central part of how we stay grounded, clear, and aligned as a family. Whether I'm feeling tired, depleted, burnt out, in pain, or just need a reset, I lay down on the biomat and within minutes, I feel myself coming back online. What makes it so powerful is the unique combination of technologies it offers. It has far infrared heat to penetrate deep into muscles, joints, and tissues, relieving pain, tension, and inflammation. It's got negative ions to support mood, circulation, and cellular rejuvenation. It's got crystal-like amethyst and tourmaline that naturally amplify healing frequencies and clear energetic blocks. And it's got pulsed electromagnetic field therapy, which helps reset your body's natural rhythms and restore balance to the nervous system. It's like this beautiful fusion of ancient earth wisdom and modern healing technology. And the moment you lay down, your body just knows. I truly believe every single person needs one of these in their home. Whether you're single and want a powerful way to care for your energy, Or you're a mama like me and you want to give your whole family access to more calm, more clarity, and more vitality, the biomat is it. You can head to the link in the show notes to learn more and bring one into your space. I guarantee your body, your energy, and your family will thank you. Now let's dive back into the episode. So Kabbalah teaches that it doesn't disappear, it crystallizes. It hardens into klipot. Klipot are spiritual shells or husks that form around the light of your soul. And so you can think of a klipah as a kind of protective barrier, one that was once meant to keep you safe, but over time it can become a prison. And so these shells can look and manifest like chronic anxiety or hypervigilance, dissociation or numbness, limiting beliefs that feel impossible to shake, or addictions and compulsive behaviors. They can feel like persistent self-sabotage or low self-worth. They can manifest as physical symptoms like chronic pain with no clear medical cause. And here's the most profound part, at least in my opinion. Your soul incarnated knowing that these klipot, these shells, were part of your journey. So your tikkun isn't a punishment. It's an invitation. It's an invitation to break open those shells, to bring light to the places that were once hidden in your shadow. It's an invitation to metabolize the pain that you inherited or absorbed and to transform it into wisdom, compassion, power, or presence. And this is what trauma healing looks like through the lens of Kabbalah. It's not ever about erasing the past, but rather it's about reclaiming the parts of you that were exiled. It's about expanding your vessel so more light can flow through you, so that you can become, in the words of our mystics, a merkava, a chariot for the divine. So yes, the body does keep the score and it always remembers, but the soul, the soul keeps the purpose behind it, the why you have to go through the things that you go through in your lifetime. And when you start to listen deeply, and when you feel safely and slowly, you begin to uncover the story beneath the symptoms, the reason for them. And you begin to see your anxiety, your patterns, even your physical pain, not as enemies, but kind of like I like to say as encrypted messages. So they're invitations to return to yourself, to break the klipot, to live your tikkun. And trauma isn't just about what happened to you, but it's what didn't get to complete itself, full cycle. It's what your system wasn't able to fully feel or process or metabolize in the moment that the trauma took place, that the experience that led to trauma took place. So it might be a moment where your boundaries were crossed, or a time where, let's say, you were left alone when you needed to be held. It can feel like a betrayal or a loss or a rupture in trust, no matter how big or how small. And sometimes it wasn't even the event itself that actually left the deepest wound, but it was rather the silence that followed. It was the absence of holding. It was the way that nobody asked you if you were okay, right? Or no one was there to support you, or no one knew how to support you, let's say. It was the way that life just had to move on as though nothing happened. But inside, your world had shifted, right? It's the loneliness of carrying that pain alone, or of trying to make sense of something that made no sense at the time, or feeling like your hurt didn't matter, or naming it like that you were too much or too sensitive, or it wasn't a big deal, right? That silence can be its own kind of trauma, and not because of what was said, but because of what never was. And so when we're left alone with our pain, the body has no choice but to store it, to keep it somewhere until it's safe enough to release, until it feels safe enough. And often healing isn't about revisiting the past over and over and over on repeat, but it's about finally breaking the silence. It's about letting yourself be witnessed. It's letting your body, your soul, and your story be met with compassionate ears, whether it's your own listening or another person's listening. And that feeling of belonging and listening and presencing what's alive, that's where the real shift begins. It's not in the fixing or rushing through it, but in no longer being alone with it. And that piece is so crucial and fundamental. Because when trauma doesn't get processed, it doesn't just go away, it gets buried. It gets fragmented. It gets stored in your body and stored in your subconscious. And in the Kabbalistic tradition, it creates a kind of spiritual residue called the klipot. And each klipot, the shell that I always talk about, it hardens around your inner light. And while it protects you, yes, that's its role. So it's not bad in its essence, but it also conceals your light. And so it makes it really hard to access your joy, your intuition, your trust, your connection to the Creator. And this is where many people get stuck. Not because they're broken, but because they're blocked and they just don't really know how to proceed. So in Kabbalah, the healing of trauma is intimately tied to your tikkun, to your soul's correction, to your soul's unique journey of healing, growth, and repair in this lifetime. And the word tikkun comes from the Hebrew root letaken, which means to repair, to mend, to make right. And at the deepest level, your tikkun is not just about becoming a better person or fixing what's broken. It's the sacred assignment that your soul agreed to before you were even born. So let's reframe this thing around this narrative. I have trauma, so there must be something wrong with me. I must be broken. No, not at all. You are not broken. In Kabbalistic cosmology, each soul descends into the world with a unique spiritual curriculum. And it's based on the journey of your soul across lifetimes. You carry unresolved energies, imprints, patterns, soul contracts, call them what you will. And you're here to face, transform, and ultimately elevate them in order to create more space, in order to reveal the light of who you truly are. And these struggles are not random, but rather they're the precise doorway to your purpose. And that should be empowering. And maybe your tikkun shows up as self-doubt. Maybe it shows up as repeating painful patterns in love and attracting the same type of narcissistic partner over and over again, or whatever it is, right? Maybe it's people-pleasing. Maybe it's avoidance, control, rage, grief, scarcity, shame, whatever. We all have our thing. Whatever it is, Kabbalah teaches that these recurring emotional and behavioral loops are not obstacles in the way of your path. They are the path. Hi, Ayelet here. I just wanted to pop in and say I am so excited to officially introduce the Manifestation Method portal, membership, and app. This is your home for all things Kabbalistic manifestation. You'll get access to my monthly live workshops, soul deep hypno activations and attunements, all of our manifestation courses, and our global community of manifestors. And the best part? It's just $26 a month. That's less than a latte a week. Come manifest alongside me and start creating the life you desire and deserve. Head over to ayeletpolonsky.com to join us. So your soul didn't come here to bypass the pain. It came here to alchemize it. We're all here to be sacred wizards of our inner space. And we become wizards of our inner space when we create space inside of us and take a sacred pause to look inside, right? No longer being afraid of yourself and of confronting the truth of who you are right now. Because there's nothing wrong with who you are. We just want to shed the layers to reveal more light. When we experience trauma, right, especially early in life, it often marks the exact place where our tikkun, our spiritual correction, begins. So trauma fragments us. The experience that shakes our system disconnects us from our body, from our power, from our light. And it causes us to develop these protective patterns, these defense mechanisms that once kept us safe, but now block us from living in alignment with our essence. And so the work of tikkun is to gently and courageously walk back through those places of pain, and not to relive them necessarily, but to retrieve the light that got trapped there, right? Because the wound is where the soul's light is concealed. Really take that in. The wound is where the soul's light is concealed. So without this wound, we have no pathway to revealing the light. So the wound is sacred, right? And these wounds are wrapped in klipot. So the healing journey is about cracking those shells open and releasing the divine spark inside, and then reintegrating that light back into your being. So when you start to work on your tikkun, you're not just doing shadow work, but you're fulfilling a cosmic mission. You're really engaging in the repair of the universe, tikkun olam, as we call it. Because when one soul heals, it really reverberates across time and space. It clears lifetimes of karma, and it liberates your lineage, your ancestors. And it elevates the collective consciousness of the planet. And that is so powerful. And here's what's truly beautiful. That is that your tikkun are also the ultimate keys to your greatest gifts. So the same place where you've experienced your deepest pain, that is often the exact place where your deepest power lives. It is no accident that the most compassionate people that I've ever met have walked through unbearable grief. And that the most embodied teachers once felt completely disconnected from their bodies. And that those who create safety for others once lived inside chaos. I mean, I feel like I can really vouch for all of these different categories, right? I've had to process my grief, and I do with integrity and authenticity. I go to those places and I don't shy away, right? I was once disconnected from my own body. I was once living in my own mental and internal chaos. And I had to go through the tunnel of all of those to alchemize them. And I still do. And my work here is not done. My journey is not done. I'm not a fully healed. Nobody should ever call themselves fully healed. It is lifetime after lifetime. But as we evolve, we start to see that our way of relating to others and to ourselves begins to soften, begins to shapeshift. Right? So your tikkun doesn't just reveal your wounds, it activates your wisdom. So if you've been facing the same patterns over and over, and if you've been stuck in loops and you don't understand why or how, and if you've been feeling like healing is hard and wondering why it hasn't all been cleared by now, then I invite you to pause and ask, what if each meeting with another piece that wants to be alchemized isn't punishment, but a portal? What if these challenges are not signs that something's wrong with me, but just invitations to remember who I truly am? Right? Your tikkun is sacred. It's personal. And it's not something that you compare or rush or perfect. It's a spiral, not a straight line. And every time you show up with willingness, every time you meet your pain with compassion, every time you choose consciousness over reaction, you're doing holy work. You're repairing your soul and what your soul came here to do. And ultimately, you're repairing the world. And each one of us came into this incarnation with certain soul assignments, lessons to learn, patterns to transform, gifts to reclaim. But if trauma gets locked in the system, then it distorts our perception of reality. And it convinces us that we're not safe, not worthy, not connected. And the very lessons that we came here to learn, we keep repeating and we stay stuck in the same loop. And that's kind of just the consequence of choosing not to do the work, choosing not to confront ourselves. And that's ultimately why I created the Tikkun workshop inside my Manifestation Method online membership. It's a portal. It's not just another class or concept or teaching. It's really the embodiment, a soul technology to help you break your own klipot and reveal the light that is hidden within these klipot, right? Because here's the truth. Your trauma is not who you are. It's what you survived. And your healing, that's your sacred reclamation. And this trauma healing is not a one-time thing. It's a lifelong path. Right? And that doesn't mean that it has to be heavy or hopeless forever. In fact, I personally believe and actually know that the more tools you have, right, the more spiritual tools, practical tools, somatic tools, subconscious tools, the more equipped you'll be to move through this new paradigm that we're all in, because things are shifting very quickly as a collective. And you'll be able to move through this new paradigm with more power, more clarity, more self-compassion, more love for yourself, for others, right? Because we're not in the old world anymore. You know, we're not stuck in the same situations or circumstances that our parents or great-grandparents or great-grandparents were in, right? They had a whole different set of circumstances that they had to go through that didn't necessarily allow them to do the type of work that we have the privilege of doing. And so like our ancestors are literally rolling around in their grave, just cheering us on, saying, yes, 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 thank you, thank you. I had to go through the suffering in order to create the stage for you to be able to have the luxury of doing this profound work so that you could heal the ancestors too. And not only that, but by healing yourself, you heal 7 generations that come after you, right? So this healing that we're here to do is not here to punish us, but here to liberate us. And that's also why trauma healing isn't just personal, it's cosmic, it's planetary. When you break through a klipah, you don't just heal yourself. You free something up for the collective. And you make more space for divine light to flow through this world and for all the generations to come. Right? In fact, Kabbalah teaches that each soul is part of a much larger body, a living tapestry of generations, past, present, and future. And none of us live or exist in isolation. We're interdependent. We depend on our history. And our history depends, and our future depends on our history. Right? And we depend on each other. And so you're not alone in your healing, and your struggles are not yours alone to carry. And we're all going through the same things to different degrees and different ways, right? It's just what it is. And so when a trauma gets unprocessed or goes unprocessed in a generation, right, whether it's war, betrayal, a silence, a loss, an exile of a collective or an individual, right, that pain doesn't simply disappear. It gets passed down. And not just genetically through epigenetics, but spiritually, emotionally, and energetically. It really becomes embedded in the behaviors and beliefs and body patterns of all who follow, right? We inherit the grief, the fear, the guilt, the shame. We inherit the silence of our ancestors, but we also inherit the assignment to transmute it, the responsibility to transmute it. The Kabbalists teach that when a soul is born into this world, it may carry not only its own soul correction, but all of it, right? And so we really have a chance here to pray for the liberation of all the generations, right? And this is more than just symbolic. Neuroscience and epigenetics are now confirming what ancient mystical traditions have long known. And that is that trauma is inherited. But so is healing. And the Zohar says that a righteous act, a conscious deed, a movement of transformation doesn't just shift your individual soul, right? It ripples across thousands of years. Okay, so when you sit with your pain instead of running from it, when you break the pattern of addiction and people pleasing and repression and rage, when you dare to live with an open heart, even though those before you had to armor themselves to survive, you become the bridge, the soul liberator, the vessel for redemption. And that's why healing is so holy, and it's why your tears matter, right? It's why the work of facing your shadows, even when no one sees it, really echoes into eternity. You get to live the dream of your ancestors. And you are the ancestor of your descendants. So what you choose to do with your life, how you show up for your healing, your embodiment, your wholeness, plants seeds in the soil of eternity. And you may never see the full fruits, but 7 generations from now, right, your great grandkids, a child may be born free of a pattern that you broke open for them. And they'll feel a spaciousness in their soul and never know it was you who made room for it. And that's why trauma healing isn't selfish. It's service to yourself, to humanity. And so now that we've explored what trauma is from a Kabbalistic perspective and from a psychological lens, and how it manifests as klipot, you might be asking, okay, great. Now how do I actually begin to heal? How do I start dissolving these spiritual husks? How do I release what's been buried for so long? And the healing process is sacred. It's layered. It's cyclical, like I've said. And so here are a few foundational truths from both the mystical and embodied healing worlds. And the first truth is safety comes first. Before any healing can occur, the nervous system must feel safe enough to soften. And that's why real healing isn't about reliving your trauma. It's about creating the conditions where your body, mind, and soul feel held, feel safe enough to be seen. And whether it's through therapy, somatic practices, being a part of a sacred community, doing spiritual rituals, safety is the soil from which healing grows. So find a way to create safety for your nervous system. Another thing. Presence is the medicine. Most of our trauma responses, our dissociation, our numbing, our anxiety, are ways that the system tries to escape the present moment. So healing begins when we slowly begin to come back to the body, back to the sensation, back to the breath. And this might look as simple as placing one hand on your heart, one hand on your belly, and saying, I'm here, I'm listening, I'm safe now. That simple act of presence without judgment begins to unwind the trauma loops. And the third thing is, you must let the body speak. Trauma is a felt experience, and so it must be healed in a felt way. This is where movement, breath work, voice work, and somatic practices become vital, right? Not to force or push or to try to overanalyze or understand intellectually, but rather to listen to the body's wisdom and to let the body guide the pace, right? As the Zohar teaches, the body is the wick, but the soul is the flame. And when we bring attention and love to the body, that's when the soul's light begins to glow brighter. And finally, spiritual tools become your amplifiers. So things like mantras, prayer, visualization, journaling, sacred study, pick your medicine. These aren't just nice additions to your daily practice. They're powerful tools to help repattern your inner world. In Kabbalah, we say that every mitzvah, every conscious act polishes the vessel, right, and reveals more of your divine essence. So even the simple act of saying a prayer or lighting a candle or whispering a truth to yourself in the mirror, don't underestimate the power of these healing acts. And you don't need to do them all at once. You don't need to have it all figured out. Choose one thread and follow it. Choose one practice that brings you back to yourself and let it become the doorway. Because again, trauma healing isn't about fixing what's broken. You're not broken. It's about meeting yourself with compassion, with sacred curiosity, right? When you do this work of meeting your darkness, meeting your shadow with presence and love, you're doing your tikkun. You're reclaiming the lost sparks. You're redeeming the soul fragments. You're bringing God back into the broken places. And that is the highest spiritual act. To meet the pain not as your enemy, but as the portal. To soften where you once braced yourself. To listen to the places where you once dissociated. To allow yourself to feel and trust that feeling isn't the end, but it's the beginning of becoming whole again. And so if you've been walking this healing path for years, or you're just a beginner, starting to ask deeper questions, you're not behind. You are right on time. Right? And if you want to go deeper into your own soul correction, to clear blockages you didn't even know you were carrying, and to unlock your next level of embodiment and manifestation, then I invite you to join me inside the Tikkun workshop, which I've now made available inside the Manifestation Method membership. Right? This isn't just spiritual information. It's a full body remembering. It's a membership that I've created as a sacred space to break through the klipot, to break through those hardened shells of protection and pain and return you to the divine light at your core. And in this particular workshop, which is one of many other workshops and transmissions and hypnoactivations and tools and live workshops that I offer inside the membership, in the Tikkun one specifically, you'll explore your Tikkun through the lens of Kabbalah, somatics, and subconscious healing. And you'll come to understand why certain patterns keep repeating. And you'll learn how to recognize and release those inherited wounds. And most importantly, you'll reconnect with the part of you that has never been broken. The part of you that came here to heal, to rise, and to serve. So this work is personal, it's ancestral, it's collective, and I'm so deeply honored to walk this path beside you. May you always remember that your healing matters more than you know. And may you feel the hands of your ancestors on your back, cheering you on as you move forward. May your courage to face the darkness become a torch that lights the way for others. And may the gates of your soul open wider than ever, letting divine light pour through you into this world. If this episode touched something true in you, if it gave you a language for something you felt you couldn't quite name, if it helped you soften, breathe deeper, or feel more seen, then I'd be so grateful if you shared it with someone you love. Post it on your stories, let it ripple, and send frequencies of healing to reach the hearts that need it most right now. You never know whose lineage might begin to heal because of the seed that you plant. Thanks so much for listening. So much gratitude to you. Here's to your rising. If you enjoyed this episode, let's keep the conversation going inside the Manifestation Method Portal app, your #1 destination for Kabbalistic manifestation. Inside, you'll unlock the secrets of manifestation through my proven Abra method, rooted in Kabbalah, psychology, and quantum physics, designed to help you manifest real, tangible results from the inside out. Join our global community of manifestors, explore our signature courses, monthly live manifestation workshops with me, Ayelet, and access our transformational hypno-activations and attunements to rewire limiting beliefs and align with your soul's purpose. The app is available now on the Apple App Store and Google Play. To sign up, head over to ayeletpolonsky.com. Becoming a co-creator with the Creator is your birthright. Let's manifest the life you desire and deserve together.